Welcome to Detectives Crime Stories. In this episode, we delve into a chilling case where a respected teacher's obsession with her student spirals into a shocking murder that rocks a small town. Let's uncover the dark secrets and tragic consequences of this fatal attraction. Ethan Reeves was a bright and charismatic 18-year-old senior at Willow Creek High School in the picturesque town of Maplewood, Vermont. With his tousled brown hair, piercing blue eyes, and easy smile, Ethan was popular among his peers and well-liked by his teachers. He excelled both academically and athletically, serving as captain of the school's soccer team and maintaining a spot on the honor roll. Born on May 15, 2004, to James and Rebecca Reeves, Ethan was the youngest of three siblings. His father, James, worked as a successful real estate agent, while his mother, Rebecca, was a pediatric nurse at the local hospital. Ethan's older sister, Emily, was away at college, and his older brother, Michael, had recently joined the military. Ethan had a passion for music and could often be found strumming his guitar on the school lawn during lunch breaks. He dreamed of attending Berklee College of Music in Boston after graduation, hoping to pursue a career as a professional musician. His talent was evident to anyone who heard him play, and he had already gained a small following by posting covers on YouTube. Despite his popularity, Ethan was known for his kind and humble nature. He volunteered at the local animal shelter on weekends and tutored younger students in math and science. His girlfriend, Olivia Chen, described him as the most genuinely good person she had ever met. In the days leading up to his death, Ethan was busy preparing for his upcoming graduation and finalizing his college play. He was excited about performing an original song at the school's talent show, an event he had been practicing for weeks. Friends recall him being in high spirits, looking forward to the future with optimism and enthusiasm. Little did Ethan know that his bright future would be cut tragically short, his dreams forever unfulfilled, due to a deadly obsession that had been simmering beneath the surface for months. Amelia Blackwood, 32, was a well-respected English literature teacher at Willow Creek High School. With her long auburn hair, striking green eyes, and elegant demeanor, she was admired by students and colleagues alike, her passion for literature and her ability to inspire young minds. Born on September 3, 1990, in Burlington, Vermont, Amelia was the only child of Professor Richard Blackwood, a renowned literary scholar, and Dr. Eleanor Blackwood, clinical psychologist. Growing up in an intellectually stimulating environment, Amelia developed a deep love for books and learning from an early age. Amelia excelled in her studies, graduating summa cum laude from Middlebury College with a degree in English literature. She went on to earn her master's in education from the University of Vermont, before returning to her hometown to teach at Willow Creek High School. Known for her innovative teaching methods and her ability to make classic literature come alive for her students, Amelia quickly became one of the most popular teachers at Willow Creek. She organized the school's first Shakespeare Festival, led the debate team to state championships, and was voted Teacher of the Year 2 years in a row. Outside of school, Amelia was involved in community theater, often taking lead roles in local productions. She was also an avid hiker, frequently exploring beautiful trails of the Green Mountain. Her colleagues described her as dedicated, creative, always willing to go the extra mile for her students. However, beneath her polished exterior and professional success, Amelia harbored deep-seated insecurities and a growing sense of loneliness. A string of failed relationships had left her feeling unfulfilled and desperate for connection. It was in this vulnerable state that her fascination with Ethan Reeves began to take root, eventually growing into a dangerous obsession that would lead to tragedy. Maplewood, Vermont, with its population of just over 5,000, was the kind of small town where everyone knew their neighbors and life moved at a leisurely pace. Nestled in the heart of the Green Mountains, Maplewood was known for its stunning fall foliage, quaint bed and breakfasts, and the annual Maple Syrup Festival that drew visitors from all over New England. Willow Creek High School, where both Ethan and Amelia spent their days, was a centerpiece of the community. The red brick building, with its sprawling sports fields and newly renovated auditorium, stood proudly on Maple Street. just a stone's throw from the town square. With a student body of around 500, the school was large enough to offer a diverse range of classes and activities, but small enough that most students knew each other by name. The town prided itself on its low crime rate and strong sense of community. The local diner, Maple Joe's, was a popular hangout for both students and teachers, known for its delicious apple pie and friendly atmosphere. On Friday nights, the whole town would turn out to support the Willow Creek Wolves at their football games, the stands a sea of green and gold. It was against this idyllic backdrop that the dark events of our story would unfold, forever changing the face of this peaceful community. The seeds of tragedy were planted on a crisp autumn day in September 2021, when Ethan Reeves walked into Amelia Blackwood's AP English Literature class for the first time. Amelia, known for her enthusiasm, began the semester with a passionate discussion of Romeo and Juliet, emphasizing the themes of forbidden love and tragic consequence. As Ethan eloquently shared his interpretation of the text, Amelia found herself captivated not just by his insights, but by his charisma and maturity. She noted how the sunlight streaming through the classroom windows seemed to illuminate his features, giving him an almost ethereal quality. Over the next few weeks, Amelia noticed herself paying extra attention to Ethan. She looked forward to reading his essays, always impressed by his depth of analysis and creative thinking. During class discussions, she often called on him, eager to hear his perspective. For his part, Ethan saw Miss Blackwood as a mentor and role model. He appreciated her passion for literature and her ability to make even the most challenging texts accessible and engaging. He often stayed after class to discuss books or seek advice on his college application essay. It was during one of these after-class sessions in late October that the dynamic between them began to shift. As they discussed Ethan's analysis of Wuthering Heights, Amelia found herself standing closer to him than usual, her heart racing as she caught the scent of his cologne. When their hands accidentally brushed as they reached for the same book, Amelia felt a jolt of electricity that both thrilled and terrified her. That night, lying awake in her bed, Amelia tried to rationalize her feelings. She told herself it was natural to feel a connection with a bright student, that she was simply proud of his accomplishment. But deep down, she knew that her interest in Ethan had crossed a line from professional to personal. Little did either of them know that this seemingly innocent attraction would set in motion a chain of events that would end in tragedy. As the weeks passed, Amelia's fascination with Ethan grew into a full-blown obsession. She found herself looking for excuses to interact with him, creating group projects that would allow her to observe him more closely, and even volunteering to chaperone school events she knew he would attend. Amelia began keeping a journal dedicated to Ethan, meticulously recording every interaction, no matter how small. She wrote about the way his eyes lit up when discussing his favorite books, how his laughter seemed to brighten the entire room, and how she imagined what it would be like to run her fingers through his hair. Her bedroom walls, once adorned with posters of classic literary figures, now featured discreetly placed photos of Ethan that she had cut out from school yearbooks and newspapers. She even went so far as to drive by his house late at night, heart pounding as she imagined what he might be doing inside. Amelia's colleagues began to notice changes in her behavior. She seemed distracted during staff meetings, her usual insightful contributions replaced by a distant look in her eyes. Her friend and fellow teacher, Lisa Thompson, noticed that Amelia's conversations increasingly revolved around Ethan, though she always framed her interest in terms of his academic achievements. One particularly concerning incident occurred in early December. During a faculty Christmas party, Amelia had too much to drink and confided in Lisa, slurring, "Have you ever met someone and just known they were meant to be in your life? That's how I feel about Ethan. He understands me in a way no one else does." Lisa, alarmed by Amelia's words, gently suggested that perhaps she was becoming too emotionally invested in a student. Amelia quickly backtracked, laughing it off as the effects of too much wine. But the seed of concern had been planted in Lisa's mind. Meanwhile, Ethan remained oblivious to the depths of Amelia's feelings. He saw her increased attention as nothing more than a teacher taking a special interest in a promising student. He continued to excel in her class, grateful for her guidance and support. As Christmas break approached, Amelia's obsession reached new heights. The thought of not seeing Ethan for 2 weeks filled her with anxiety. In a moment of impulsivity, she decided to give him a special gift, a rare first edition of The Great Gatsby, Ethan's favorite novel. She wrapped it carefully, including a note that read, "To Ethan, kindred spirit in the world of literature. Your passion inspires me every day. Miss Blackwood." When Ethan opened the gift in front of his classmates, he was touched by the thoughtfulness, but also slightly uncomfortable with the extravagance of the present. His girlfriend, Olivia, raised an eyebrow at the intimate tone of the note, planting the first seeds of suspicion in her mind. As the students filed out for the holiday break, Amelia watched Ethan leave with a mixture of longing and desperation. She knew her feelings were inappropriate, even dangerous, but she felt powerless to stop them. The 2 weeks of separation loomed ahead like an eternity, and Amelia began to plan ways to see Ethan outside of school, her rational mind slowly giving way to the all-consuming nature of her obsession. The new year brought with it a series of events that would push Amelia's obsession to its breaking point. As the spring semester began, Ethan's focus naturally shifted towards his upcoming graduation and college plan. He spent less time after class with Amelia, his free moments now dedicated to college applications and spending time with Olivia. Amelia felt a growing sense of panic and jealousy. She began to manufacture reasons to keep Ethan after class, assigning him extra credit projects and insisting on one-on-one tutoring sessions. Her behavior became increasingly erratic, alternating between effusive praise and harsh criticism of Ethan's work. One fateful afternoon in late February, Amelia overheard Ethan and Olivia discussing their plans to attend prom together. The thought of Ethan in a tuxedo, dancing with Olivia instead of her, sent Amelia into a spiral of jealousy and despair. That night, she drank an entire bottle of wine and made the disastrous decision to create a fake social media profile using pictures of a young, attractive woman she found online. Over the next few weeks, Amelia used this profile to befriend Ethan online, engaging him in lengthy conversations about music and literature. She reveled in these interactions, feeling that she was finally connecting with Ethan on a personal level, free from the constraints of their teacher-student relationship. However, Amelia's plan backfired when Ethan mentioned his new online friend to Olivia. Suspicious, Olivia did some digging and quickly discovered the profile was fake. When she confronted Ethan with her findings, he was shocked and immediately blocked the account, feeling betrayed and creeped out. Amelia was devastated when Ethan suddenly cut off contact with her online persona. In class, she noticed him whispering with Olivia and giving her wary glances. Paranoia set in as Amelia convinced herself that they suspected her involvement. The situation came to a head in early April. After class, Ethan approached Amelia's desk with a serious expression. "Miss Blackwood," said hesitantly, "I'm not sure how to say this, but I think you might be the person behind that fake profile. If you are, I need you to know that it's not okay. I'm your student, and this feels like a violation of trust." Amelia felt her world crumbling around her. In a moment of desperation, she reached out to touch Ethan's arm, her voice pleading, "Ethan, you don't understand. What I feel for you is real. We have a connection that goes beyond student and teacher. I love you." Ethan recoiled from her touch, his face a mixture of shock and disgust. "Miss Blackwood, this is completely inappropriate. I'm going to have to report this to the principal." As Ethan turned to leave, Amelia felt a surge of panic and rage. The carefully constructed fantasy world she had built around her relationship with Ethan was shattering, and with it, her last grasp on rationality. In that moment, as she watched Ethan walk away, Amelia made the fateful decision that would seal both their fates. The events of April 15, 2022, would forever be etched in the memory of Maplewood's resident. The day started like any other, with students and teachers going about their usual routines at Willow Creek High School. But as the final bell rang, signaling the end of classes, a sinister plan was already in motion. Amelia Blackwood, her mind clouded by desperation and obsession, had spent the day in a haze, going through the motions of teaching while inwardly seething with fear and anger. She knew that once Ethan reported her behavior, career and reputation would be ruined. In her distorted view, the only way to prevent this was to silence Ethan permanently. As the parking lot emptied of students and staff, Amelia lingered in her classroom, waiting. She had earlier slipped a note into Ethan's locker, reportedly from the college admissions office, asking him to meet with her after school to discuss an important matter regarding his application. At 3:45 p.m., Ethan knocked on the classroom door. "Miss Blackwood, you wanted to see me about my college application?" Amelia's heart raced as she invited him in, locking the door behind him. "Yes, Ethan. Please, have a seat." Ethan, still wary after their last interaction, remained standing. "I'd rather not. What's this about?" "I didn't receive any emails from the admissions office." Amelia's facade crumbled. "There is no email, Ethan. I needed to talk to you, make you understand." She moved closer to him, her eyes wild with a mixture of love and desperation. "We're meant to be together, Ethan. Can't you see that? Everything I've done has been for you, for us." Ethan backed away, reaching for the door. "Miss Blackwood, you're scaring me. I'm leaving now and I'm going straight to the principal." In that moment, something in Amelia snapped. She grabbed a heavy bronze Shakespeare bust from her desk and, with a strength born of madness, swung it at Ethan's head. The sickening thud of metal meeting flesh echoed through the empty classroom. Ethan crumpled to the floor, blood pooling around his head. Amelia, horrified by what she had done but unable to stop, struck him again and again, her vision blurred by tears and rage. When it was over, Amelia stood over Ethan's lifeless body, the bloody bust still clutched in her trembling hands. The reality of what she had done began to sink in, and she was overcome by a wave of nausea and panic. Acting on autopilot, Amelia quickly locked the classroom door, closed the blind. She knew she had to dispose of the body and clean up the evidence. Her mind was reeling, unable to form a coherent plan. In a daze, she wrapped Ethan's body in a large poster map of Shakespearean England that had hung on her classroom wall. Using all her strength, she managed to drag the body to her car, thankful for the empty parking lot and the cover of darkness that had begun to fall. Amelia drove aimlessly for hours, her mind racing with fear and regret. She eventually found herself on a remote forest road in the Green Mountains. With shaking hands, she pulled over and dragged Ethan's body deep into the woods, covering it with leaves and branches. Returning to her car, Amelia realized her clothes were soaked in blood. She changed into the gym clothes she kept in her trunk, stuffing the bloody garments into a plastic bag. She then drove to a 24-hour laundromat in a neighboring town, washing the clothes and the makeshift shroud that had held Ethan's body. Back at the school, Amelia spent hours meticulously cleaning her classroom, scrubbing away every trace of blood and disposing of any evidence. She replaced the Shakespeare bust, now dented and stained, the replica she hurriedly purchased online. As dawn broke, Amelia finally returned home, exhausted and numb. She called in sick to work, claiming a severe bout of flu. For the next few days, she barely left her bed, oscillating between periods of paralyzing guilt and frantic planning to cover her tracks. Ethan's disappearance was noticed almost immediately. When he failed to return home that Friday evening, his parents, James and Rebecca Reeves, came worried. Calls to his friends, including his girlfriend Olivia, yielded no information about his whereabouts. By Saturday morning, the Reeves family had reported Ethan missing. The Maplewood Police Department. Detective Michael Harding, a seasoned investigator with 20 years of experience, was assigned to the case. Detective Harding began by interviewing Ethan's family and close friends. Olivia Chen, still shaken by Ethan's disappearance, mentioned his recent discomfort with Ms. Blackwood's behavior. He said she was acting weird, giving him expensive gifts and trying to spend more time with him after class. Olivia told the detective, her voice trembling. This information immediately piqued Detective Harding's interest. He decided to pay a visit to Willow Creek High School on Monday morning. As news of Ethan's disappearance spread through Maplewood, a tight-knit community was thrown into a state of shock and fear. Parents kept their children closer, and groups of volunteers organized search parties, combed the town and surrounding areas. Local news station WMVT began running regular updates on the case, featuring tearful pleas from Ethan's parents for any information about their son's whereabouts. The Maplewood Gazette ran a front-page story titled, "Local Teen's Disappearance Rocks Community," complete with Ethan's senior portrait and quotes from his devastated friends and teachers. On Monday morning, Detective Harding arrived at Willow Creek High School. The usually lively halls were subdued, students speaking in hushed tones about Ethan's disappearance. Posters with Ethan's face and the word "missing" plastered on lockers and bulletin boards. Principal Robert Jennings met with Detective Harding in his office, providing Ethan's school records and class schedule. When asked about Ethan's teachers, Principal Jennings spoke highly of all of them, including Miss Blackwood. "Amelia is one of our best teachers," he said. "Students love her, and she's always going above and beyond for them." Detective Harding then proceeded to interview Ethan's teachers one by one. Most expressed shock and concern over Ethan's disappearance, describing him as a model student with a bright future. When it was Amelia's turn to be interviewed, she struggled to maintain her composure. She had spent the weekend rehearsing her responses, but facing Detective Harding's piercing gaze made her nervous. "Miss Blackwood, I understand you were Ethan's English teacher," Detective Harding began, his tone casual but his eyes watchful. Amelia nodded, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Yes, Ethan was in my AP English Literature class. He was an exceptional student. Did you notice anything unusual about Ethan's behavior recently? Any changes in his mood or habits?" Amelia hesitated for a moment before responding. "No, nothing out of the ordinary. He seemed excited about graduation and his college plan." Detective Harding made a note in his pad. "I've heard that you and Ethan spent quite a bit of time together after class. Can you tell me about that?" Amelia felt her heart rate quicken. Ethan often stayed after class to discuss literature or get advice on his college essays. It's not uncommon for dedicated students to seek extra guidance. The detective nodded slowly. "And the expensive book you gave him as a gift? That seems a bit unusual for a teacher-student relationship, doesn't it?" Amelia felt a bead of sweat form on her brow. I simply wanted to encourage his passion for literature. Ethan had mentioned his love for The Great Gatsby, and I happened to come across a special edition. I didn't think it would be inappropriate." Detective Harding's gaze never wavered as he asked, "And where were you on Friday afternoon after school?" "I was here, grading paper," Amelia lied, voice barely above a whisper. "I left around 5 p.m. As the interview concluded, Detective Harding thanked Amelia for her time, but she could sense his suspicion. She knew she was far from in the clear. Over the next few days, the investigation intensified. Detective Harding and his team meticulously combed through security camera footage, interviewed more witnesses, and analyzed phone records. A breakthrough came when a student came forward with a crucial piece of information. Jessica Torres, a junior who had been working late on an art project, reported seeing Amelia's car in the school parking lot well after 6 p.m. on the day of Ethan's disappearance. This directly contradicted Amelia's statement about leaving at 5 p.m. Armed with this new information, Detective Harding obtained a warrant to search Amelia's home and car. The search of Amelia's house revealed a disturbing shrine to Ethan, hidden in her closet, including photographs, diary entries, and even items of clothing that appeared to belong to the missing student. In her car, forensics experts found traces of blood that, although attempted to be cleaned, were still detectable under luminol. As the evidence against Amelia mounted, the community of Maplewood reeled from the implication. The idea that a beloved teacher could be involved in a student's disappearance was almost too horrific to contemplate. WMVT ran a special report titled "Trusted Teacher or Dangerous Predator," featuring interviews with shocked parents and students. The Maplewood Gazette's headline screamed, "Teacher Prime Suspect in Student's Disappearance," accompanied by side-by-side photos of Amelia and Ethan. On April 25th, 10 days after Ethan's disappearance, Detective Harding brought Amelia in for another round of questioning. This time, faced with the mounting evidence against her, Amelia's carefully constructed facade began to crumble. For hours, she maintained her innocence, offering weak explanations for the evidence found in her home and car. But as Detective Harding methodically laid out the case against her, the weight of her actions finally became too much to bear. In a moment of emotional breakdown, Amelia confessed to the murder of Ethan Reeves. Through tears, she recounted the events of that fateful afternoon, describing how her obsession had spiraled out of control and led to the unthinkable act. "I loved him," she sobbed. "I never meant for this to happen. I just wanted him to understand how I felt." Detective Harding listened impassively as Amelia revealed the location where she had hidden Ethan's body. As soon as the confession was secured, a team was dispatched to recover Ethan's remains. The news of Amelia's confession and arrest sent shockwaves through Maplewood and beyond. National news outlets descended on the small town, turning the tragic case into a media sensation. Ethan's funeral was held on a rainy Saturday in May. The entire town seemed to turn out to pay their respects, with the high school gymnasium serving as an overflow area for the hundreds who couldn't fit into the church. Willow Creek High School struggled to come to terms with the betrayal. Counselors were brought in to help students and staff process their grief and shock. The school board implemented new policies regarding teacher-student interactions, hoping to prevent any future tragedy. Amelia Blackwood was charged with first-degree murder. Her trial, held 6 months later, was a media spectacle. Despite her lawyer's attempts to argue for a lesser charge based on mental instability, the jury found her guilty. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The Reeves family, devastated by their loss, established a scholarship in Ethan's name for students pursuing music at Berklee College of Music, ensuring that Ethan's dream would live on through others. The tragic case of Ethan Reeves and Amelia Blackwood serves as a chilling reminder of the devastating consequences when boundaries are crossed and obsession takes hold. It shattered the idyllic facade of Maplewood, leaving a community to grapple with the knowledge that evil can lurk in the most unexpected places. As we conclude this episode of Detectives Crime Stories, we're left to ponder the complex nature of human psychology and the thin line between admiration and obsession. The case of Ethan and Amelia will undoubtedly be remembered as one of the most shocking cases in Vermont's history, a cautionary tale that continues to resonate with educators, students, and parents alike. If you or someone you know is struggling with obsessive thoughts or behaviors, please seek help from a mental health professional. Remember, early intervention prevents tragedy. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Detectives Crime Stories. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time as we delve into another case that shocked a nation.